to Miss Martin Muses and another evening or afternoon of pub crawl. And today we have none other than ADEGA Outlaw with us. How are you today?
I'm doing pretty special. Thank you for having me.
Oh, well, thank you for being able to come on. I've been wanting you for a while because for those that may not know, you are actually an author, a fiction writer, if I understand correctly.
Yes. Yes. Well, people say I do pretty good, so I can't argue with what people are telling me.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I do. Started sci-fi. I have sci-fi and fantasy. There are 7 books out right now. So yeah, it's what I try and do. Tell people stories of their life, only set fictionally. So it's fun. I enjoy it. So yeah, no, and I like hanging out here, and I like seeing the people you have. Stig's one of my favorites because the guy is hilarious. But no, is actually quite. I was excited when you asked for me to be on. I don't solicit these things, and for you to hunt me down, I think, wow, what an honor! This is fun. Ryan Kinnell, Stig. Now you put me in here after those guys. Oh, geez. Okay, we'll see what I can do.
No, hey, everyone is important who's on my channel. I don't subscribe to the whole, well, this YouTuber is better than that YouTuber. I've been friends with Ryan for years. So he came on. I didn't go after him because he's a big YouTuber. You know what I mean? And everyone who is on my channel is important.
It's just a matter of being entertaining is all. I want you to be successful, and you've gotten monetized. Congratulations there. And yeah, I just want to be here to help out if I can.
Well, for sure. Well, thank you. Yes. And as I always say, completely monetized, because for the longest time, I was mostly monetized because they changed the rules up a little bit that you can get, for example, super chats once you get to 500 and get 3,000 hours, but the rest of it didn't come through. So now it all came through. And so I thank you and everyone that has helped me out with that. Snortopupus Kubur is here. We love our animals here at Miss Martin Muses. Thank you for being here. He is saying hello. How are things out on the iceberg, Snortopupus? Let me know. Hello, fellow pub crawlers, says Jeff Smith, and he is bringing the Marmite.
All right.
Yes. Now, let me see something here. It is sometimes, it's customary that they choose a pub. I didn't know if there was a real or fictional pub, though. I say if it's real, make sure it doesn't dox you, that you would maybe like to talk about.
I would, if I went to in the past, it was always for the food because I have never had a single drink in my life. And there was an Irish place, I'm half Irish, in a town where I used to live as of 3.5 years ago. Claudius. It was an Irish pub. And I've seen Irish pubs of images taken from Ireland, and they really represented. The food was the same from what I could tell, but the look was authentic. So yeah, I go for the Irish type of thing.
Nice. Now, when you said, do you mean Clada? Is it CLADAGH?
CLAUDA.
Oh, Oh, okay. Then I have the wrong name then.
Right, and pronouncing anything that's Irish is pretty tough because I have a sign here that says "Welcome" and it has the Celtic knots on it. It's a woodwork that I put up on my wall, but it's saying welcome. It's Felce. It means nothing. It looks like faith, and you pronounce it Felce, and it means welcome. So understanding Irish is, I got a long ways to go.
Oh, well, it's perfectly all right. What you're talking about is Céad Míle Fáilte. Fáilte, the F-A-Fada I-L-T-E. 100,000 welcomes.
Yes,
right?
yes,
yep.
Yes.
And I only know it because I actually do know some Irish. So
all right, well, you're better than I am.
I was there as a child in Ireland, and you had to learn Irish in school and speak it in school to a certain extent. Like any commands or questions you would ask the teacher, they would make you do it in Irish. So if you want to go to the bathroom, you had to say it in Irish, or prayers or the mass in Irish. So I've been recently. So I know a lot of prayers and a lot of songs in the language, but I love it. So I'm so happy that you chose an Irish pub.
Well, the first foreign language stuff I picked up was from a friend in grade school when I was real little, and he had just moved from Ireland, and he taught me Daft Egypt real quick, and I'm going, okay. It's a way to call somebody out. I was like, all right.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there's lots of different things. And I love words like Egypt. For one thing, YouTube doesn't care about it because it doesn't know what it is. But it's
Right.
so much better to say Egypt than idiot. You know what I mean? It's like
Yep.
you just put the emphasis on it. It's much easier, says Nord Poopus Cooper, to pronounce Gaelic. I'm assuming you mean Gaeliga. If you have a whiskey or two first, perhaps.
I'll take your word for it. Never had
Yeah.
a whiskey. Like I said, never had a single drink in my life.
Well, good. I abused the privilege, so it's probably a good thing that you did
Well,
not. There. Oh, look, it's
I
gravy.
said I'm half Irish. The other half is Native American. So if I start drinking, there's a lot of bad things that could happen. Love to fight, but too lazy to do it. You know, those type of things. It just can't mix.
Yeah, I was about ready to say, you talk about an unfortunate combination because so, yeah, it makes complete sense for genetics and all of that. Yes, and hello, Gravy D, saying hello to you. I've been having some microphone issues, but I think I got them sorted out here. Well, that's really cool. Well, I always tell people I have the Irish speaking skills of an 8-year-old, so it's all very simple. But we digress. The reason I said Clada because there is a pub in Indiana, a pub in Indianapolis called the Clada, which is a fantastic pub /
Ah,
restaurant, and you can do
awesome.
that there. Yeah, but yeah. Well,
No,
I
this
always
was downtown Plymouth in Michigan. It's, I would say, I used to say it was out of gunshot range of Detroit, but it's probably 35 miles west of there about.
Mhm.
It's a great town. They made one of the Scream movies was made there, one of them, because it has that, there's a center island inside the downtown. Looks very Americana 30s, 40s, with a gazebo in the middle and grass, and, where you expect to see all the real old timey stuff. I can't remember which one they made there, but I remember they shut the town down to film it.
Oh, cool. Sword Poopa says, I admit to not drinking much. Nobody likes to be around a drunken polar bear. No, because you'll actually probably die. Yeah.
Right.
Bad enough idea to begin with.
Take the restraints off a polar bear. That's pretty bad.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love it the way that we have all sorts of eccentric people here at Miss
Right.
Muses that we all
Well,
love to talk about.
I like Snorty because he puts his humans pictures up, and he's got a lot of steampunk stuff. And my current thing that I'm writing, it took it to 2,000 years from the previous fantasy setting. Most fantasy are more like a medieval. Not all of them. Some are urban fantasy. And I moved it 2,000 years into the future. And now it's a steampunk setting. So it's a very Victorian.
Yeah. No, I love it. Yes. Snortpoopus is human suit.
Yeah, human.
I'll tell you, some parts of steampunk freak me out a bit, but I really like the whole Victorian woman costume thing aspect of it because I'm like, oh, that's pretty. Oh, I need to wear that. Steampunk is fun, yes. It's something really weird. When I first saw it, I didn't even know what it was supposed to be. I'm like, it's hard to, how do you describe it? It's like sci-fi meets Victorian England.
Well, sometimes I use, if people have ever watched the Will Smith version of Wild Wild West, a lot of that has steampunk elements to it. And I said, you get that feel, but make it a little bit more historically authentic, and that's what you get. But I've also heard people describe it as, well, imagine the gas engine was never invented and you went off of steam still, and you kept a lot of the aesthetics. And go, oh yeah, a lot of brass.
Oh, well, there you go. Yeah, I saw a movie with, who was it? The guy who plays Loki. It was a
Hiddleston?
horror flick. I'm sorry, Tom
Henderson?
Yeah. Is it Tom Hiddleston? I keep wanting to call him Tom Holland. I'm a terrible woman because I love this man because I love the way he does Henry V. But he was in a movie, a horror.
Just lost your mic.
It was Crimson Tide. That's what it was. And here I'm go ahead and probably switch out my microphone because this is a bad one. I think I need to Hiddleston, thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, and that was really cool because it was a bit of a horror flick thing with him about a woman that marries a man and takes her to England, and it's got this really cool steampunky house, Victorian house going on, and of course, murder and mayhem ensues. So I would definitely recommend that if you like steampunk. But anyways, you, sir, are a writer, as we've already said, a fiction writer, and you said you've
Yes.
published 7 books. Now, have you self-published, or is this through a major publishing company? How does
It
that work?
originally was through publishing company, and then that was the first sci-fi book, which is funny. You're very religious. You'll get a kick out of this because one of the everyone gets reviews, and I have very, very, very few bad reviews. Everyone likes my stuff, and I feel very fortunate this is the case, except for one guy. Someone had pointed out, you got to see this because I don't read the reviews or anything. And I decided to read it. And the guy was trashing my book, Evolution, which is the first one. But the thing is he just read the title,
Oh my god.
Evolution. He has no idea what the book is about. He thought I was going anti-religious. But in fact, if you're not Christian at all, it would be a good book. And I've had a lot of people say, oh, yeah, this is really cool. Or if you are Christian, and some people get in there and say, what? This sounds familiar. Wait, this kind of matches. And I'm going, yes, it should, because I have hidden Christianity in everything.
Mhm.
And it's like I said, if you're not Christian, you wouldn't know. But you would be entertained. But it doesn't matter the denomination, you would still notice that there's a lot of religious overtones in it. I hit it even better than what Tolkien. His is pretty obvious. Mine not so much, except for 1,000 years in the future. It's set like the 1,000 years after the rule of Christ, but it's not even mentioned in there. It just, if you're religious, you'll pick it up and go, oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, no, that's really cool. And that's the kind of stuff that I like. Well, and Tolkien himself, he says, of course, it's a Roman Catholic book and it's just woven throughout the story and the themes and all
Right.
that. And he says that's why he won't have religion in his stories.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Mine don't have it in either. But you asked about the publishing. It was, and then I submitted The Blood Witch, which is a fantasy, to be reviewed by publishing companies, and I got a couple of them that wanted it. And so I settled with one. It was a newer group, and that company folded because of COVID and a few other things. And there's some interesting stories about editing that I learned about at the time from bad editors that have activist agendas instead of the author's intention. But at that point, when that company went, I decided, you know what? I just heard that he finished The Wheel of Time. I can't remember. Baron Sorensen.
Brandon Sanderson.
Sanderson, yeah. He said if he was to do it again, he would go self-publish. So I said, what the heck? Barnes & Noble and Amazon both make it really easy to do. So that's what I did. And I don't have to shell out a lot of money because my artist who does the book covers, she just likes to be part of the program. She loves the stuff so much. Says, hey, you know what? If your books get really famous, so's my work. And I said, well, you're along for the ride. And she's been really great about it.
Yeah. I noticed that Sanderson, when he made 60 million, maybe even more than that on his Kickstarter.
Right.
And I was like, here's the future, kids. Here is the future. Because yes, Salty Traveling. We love Salty Traveling here. Please hit that like button for Miss Martin and ADEGA. Yes, because I think there is so much interference and requirements and checking boxes that it's starting to take away the integrity of the work. Like, I want an author to be true to themselves. Like, for example, if somebody wanted to write a work, and they have, for example, with the people from that community, more power to you. I would hate if someone were to impose on them to take away their vision of their work. And that may be one of was the way it was in the past. But equally so, you have to allow the integrity of the artist to determine the trajectory of what they're trying to say.
True, true. And there's room for all kinds of voices. You shouldn't pigeonhole them into certain types of voices. And one of the things that I ran into, there is a tendency, or there has been, it's starting to go away, to actually have people fit the certain narrative. You have to have these sensitivity readings and all of this other stuff. But in the long run, that's all a fad. In the long extent of human history, it's a fad. The ones that aren't like that are the ones that speak of human truth, not of what is fashionable of the day. You may represent customs and things of certain eras, but if you were to use slang of say the 2000s and put it into a fantasy setting, you automatically start diminishing from the story. We see that in movies and a lot of stuff that comes out of these streaming services now, where the writers don't do their homework to find out, well, how did people speak back then? And it takes away the story's timelessness, and it diminishes the work overall. So yeah, I have to agree with you. There is that element where you have to let the writer be the writer. You have to let the artist be the artist, and let time tell whether or not it was worth the effort or not. Because people will know in the long run.
Yeah. I mean, for crying out loud, the Greek myths. Trust me, I have nothing in common with Greeks that lived 6,000 years ago, but I love.
Oh, there went your mic again.
Switches out. I love the Odyssey. I love Shakespeare. I mean, obviously, Shakespeare has absolutely nothing to do with me. I love Jane Austen. Obviously, I am not a British lady living in the 18th, 19th century. It's
Right.
universal truths that we have. And there's a reason why stories have lasted for thousands and thousands of years. So,
Well, certain ones, the ones that were written with the timelessness, the revisionists or the rewriting, or the putting in the fads without a foundation. I think it's an insult to human intelligence, to be flat out honest with you.
yeah. Look who
I
it is.
have to.
Purple Valkyrie. Sorry, I wanted to say hi to Purple Valkyrie. Yay,
Well,
we love
that's
Purple
exactly
Valkyrie.
what I was going to do, because if you pick up the Blood Witch, the layout of it, the map, some of the other things in it, it's because of her influence. I sat down with her, and then my artist and her sat down one time, and we picked her brain, because she's well read in a lot of fantasy stuff, and I know that she would give good advice, and she did. And I can never say thank you enough to her for that. She was a big help.
Nice. Well, yay, Purple Valkyrie. Yes, we love her here. And Salty Traveling says, using database values, agenda, race, gender, etc. to create content does not equal a story, let alone entertainment. It is product, just like a plastic lawn chair.
It's no better than AI. There's no heart to it. If you sat down and listened to music that was generated by electronic devices and computer, as opposed to someone, and this coming from the music industry, background, if you were to hear something live, and I know this as well, you can tell the difference between a performance when someone is playing notes and someone is singing through their instrument. It's the same with the print. Because once upon a time I was a musician. I think maybe you picked that up in one of the chats. I played pro sax for a while. But the only reason why I got there is because I learned early on when I was 14, I am playing notes. I am not the horn. I am not the music. I am not sharing my emotion. And I got an instructor who helped me, and he says, okay, this is how you do it, or this is how you attempt to it. He fired me 2 years later, says, you're better than I am. But it's that singing where, if, like what Salty was saying, if you have agendas, or you have propaganda, or some type of message you want to put in there that does not express your heart, but expresses a political or whatever view it may be, you've already lost the battle of expressing the true intent. The true intent has to come, and true art, there's a difference between being intellectual and emotional, and there's a balance between the two when it comes into really good performances on paper or in music or what have you. So yeah, those agendas have to go, and it has to be spoken from the soul.
Yes, amen. What you said, of course, really moved me about music. Most of my career has been in ensemble playing, in orchestra, and you can have a conductor sit there and just beat the rhythm, and that's how we'll sound. But when you work with a conductor that is an artist, he will bring things out of the orchestra that you couldn't even possibly
Yes.
imagine. And that's why you'll have the Leonard Bernsteins out there that are unbelievable as opposed to your average Joe down the road, because they not only have the artistry, but they have the ability with their conducting skills to transfer that and create something new. That's why I always tell people, if you have never gone to see a symphony live, you have to. No
Right.
recording is even close to what it is.
Right. Because it does shake something inside that cannot be reached otherwise. There's something about the reverberation of sound created live through a horn and through emotion that it really does affect the soul. It's a connection between you and the performer that cannot be done otherwise.
Well, I'll tell you, I've recently heard the Dvorak's New World Symphony being performed live. How many times have I heard that? 200 million thousand. But within the first few measures, tears just started pouring down my face. I'm like, what the hell? Where's this coming from? It was just so beautiful. You just cannot imagine. And if I've had the pleasure of performing live several symphonies, obviously, but I got to perform Beethoven's Seventh Symphony, and holy crud, it was an out of body experience.
Oh, I bet. But my experience with that type of music is very limited. Being a saxophonist, they don't really fit in those type of orchestras.
No.
Mine were mostly the jazz side of things.
But jazz is amazing too. I mean, jazz has a rhythm, a language, a speech of its
Yeah,
own.
and it was the true jazz. It wasn't the bluegrass that people say that's jazz or that type of thing. It was the more impressionist type. But it is what it is. If you ever wanted to know what I sounded like, I think the closest anyone has ever came to the way I sounded, if you look at Dave, this is for you on side note, Dave Cause Together Again. Dave Cause is a pretty good saxophonist, and my sound is very, very similar to that, except he tends to be just a hair brighter than I am. Mine has more of a wood lower
Mellow
emotion
sound,
to it.
maybe?
Not necessarily mellow. When a sax, and this is with any instrument, but it has a wide range of expressing everything from, like, if you're in the rock, it has almost a raspy sound to it. It's the sound I don't like. And then when you get into the jazz or some of the ballad type stuff, it will become more of a smooth, kind of like I said, a woody or not necessarily bass, but it's more of a dark tone to it. It's like changing from water to chocolate milk. I guess that would be the best way to kind of express it, where one is really thin, light, and the other one has a heavy deepness to it.
No, that's really a good way of putting it, because it's an intangible. It's very hard to put something intangible and make it tangible, but that's a very beautiful way of doing it. See, John Coltrane, Coleman, Hawkins, Ben Webster. Yeah, he's talking about how you can look at different decades and different people, and same notes, same instruments, but each player brings their own expression. That is true. I was going to say, I forgot to ask you, what is actually the name of your work? So if people want to buy them, and where can they buy them?
Evolution series is the one. It's basically, if you look on either one for the Evolution by ADEGA at Barnes and Noble or Amazon, it will bring up the 5 books that are available there. The Blood Witch, I have 4 of them done, but only 2 of them are out right now. You can find the original, the Blood Witch. That's the one where I had the contesting publishers for that I walked away from. And then the 3 before it, because you know this, and I told you before we started that I had kind of done a lot of research into the Silmarillion and the stories in it. Mm-hmm. I wanted to do a book Bible that was in story form, more story, but it can explain the history of the world. And so I set it up into these 3 history books, each set 200 years apart. And so the first one, the Blood Witch is based on a family curse. And the first one is the origination of the curse. So that's Olganza. And then there are the 2 others. Hopefully they'll be out this year. The book covers are already done. It's just a matter of getting it edited as best as I can without going out and paying a professional editor, because I don't trust them anymore. Like I said, there's a whole story in that. So once those are done, but I think the very next one, this is probably, some people say this is my best work. It's called The Reach, and it's not related to either the Evolution or the Blood Witch series, which if they're looking them up, it'd be Evolution or Blood Witch. But the Blood Witch, there's another author that made one, and it's like one of those fantasy pornography romance things, as far as I can tell. So don't, if you don't see ADEGA on it, I wouldn't mess with it. But the Reach is the one that is the next one that's going to be released. And I've had such amazing feedback and compliments about that it's one of those things where, out of anything I've ever written, this one I feel imposter syndrome, because I've had several people say it's the best or one of the best things that they've ever read.
Wow.
Yeah. So that one has to come out. I'm hoping in a month or 2.
Oh, cool. Well, I was going to share the screen, but apparently Amazon and all these other places don't know how to do anything without doxing your location. So I don't want to dox myself. But everyone, if you just type in ADEGA Evolution, it did. Tons of things came up. So
let me see if I can get some pictures for you. Maybe that'll help.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that'll work. But you know what I'm saying? It's like, since you live at blah, 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 my address. I'm like, oh my gosh, people, really? I always worry that they'll do that with advertisements too.
Yeah, I've got some pictures here. They were not taken on this device, so it's going to take me just a second to find it.
Okay, no problem. Well, while we're doing this, I wanted to get this comment that Snorter Poop had said back there when we were talking about steampunk. He had said, my usual steampunk persona is Ruritanium, adapted from The Prisoner of Zenda by Anthony Hope Hawkins. I won't bore you with what Ruritanium. Well, no, I'm sure it's very fascinating. Actually, that sounds really cool. And I think that's cool that in this kind of living LARPing, if you will, it's so creative. There's so many creative things. Sometimes LARPing gets a bad rap because people associate it with people being inauthentic, but real LARPing is really cool. And it's, again, a very creative thing. I used to do that with Civil War reenacting. Now, the writing that I've done, I am not really a fiction writer. I am an essayist, nonfiction, history, that kind of stuff. I haven't been published in years, though, because I haven't been. But there's a different kind of art to it about how you structure the essay and how you present your sources and your source materials. But there still is an art to that kind of writing. Sometimes people say, oh, it's just an essay. It's like, well, there's a reason why certain essays are more special than others. And sometimes we do come up with some unique presentation of maybe some facts, the way we put them together, that are things that people may not have heard from before. But fiction, fiction, you have to deal with dialogue, you have to deal with a different kind of structure. Let's see. Oh, there we go. Mags is
Mags is
showing us
awesome.
some things here. Thank you, Mags. Yeah, we love Mags here.
I sent you on X. There's the pictures of the ones. Well, Gonza's not there, but the other ones are there.
Okay, fair enough. Let me see. There we are. Cool. I'm just going to bring this up here. Yeah, that's the other thing. Never, ever share your screen, friends, that when your DMs are showing on Twitter. I have had so many people do that. And I'm like, yikes. And sometimes it's something either very embarrassing or they're talking about people and like,
right. Don't need to know that.
Well, and not just that, it's like, oh, so that's how you really think about me. It's very dangerous. So, cautionary tale from your Aunt Teresa here, people. Be careful for crying out. Oh my gosh. And I remember once someone said, oh, I don't mind if it shares. I'm like, I mind. I mean, it's not like we were saying anything controversial, but
right.
Come
but
on,
still,
privacy. But you never know. So that's my long way of saying I'll get these pictures up here in just a second.
No, that's quite all right.
Writing is it's very therapeutic. It can be like, I will sometimes do fan fiction. When I say I've written some fiction, it has been fan fiction. I published it on the fanfiction.net, but I do not pretend that it is the same as what you have done. When I do fan fiction, and when I have in the past, it's because maybe a TV show really pissed me off. Like something that they did just really made me mad. I'm like, I'm going to fix this. I'm going to do a fix-it fan fiction. So it's a good way of getting those emotions out. If you feel like you have something to say. Or I've been guilty of reading and maybe writing a few like romance fan fictions. Like, I want to read something about Mr. Darcy and Elizabeth Bennet having breakfast or something. And for those that want it, there's lots of wedding nights of Elizabeth and Mr. Darcy.
And see, that's something I only did once, and it's not that I can't, it's just I don't like doing it, is fan fiction. I leave that to other people. Mm-hmm. And one thing that I've attempted several times and I hate it, and I try not to do it, is poetry. I leave that to people who are far better at it than I am.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and there's an art to that as well. And maybe this brings me to my next question. Did you have any formal training in writing and fiction?
I've had, I got a real cool story. Not the normal route. My education is healthcare. I'm a doctor. But when it comes to that, I excelled in school until I got into college. And when I took a writing class in college, I failed all the time. And I had a girlfriend at the time, and she was a writing major. She was brilliant at it, and she couldn't figure out why I was failing. So she says, well, let's see what this teacher's about. And she wrote the next paper that I was supposed to turn in to see what she'd do. And she failed that too. And my girlfriend at the time was an A student in that. She goes, yeah, she just hates you.
Yeah.
So that's where it ended there. But reading has always been my thing. Mostly historical type things. I did read some fantasy, some sci-fi, Old West stuff. My dad would have me read a bunch of things like Last of the Breed, I think was the last one from, that was a Louis L'Amour, a really cool book. But then I stopped, like I told you a while back, when my mind started setting on, you know what, I got some stories I got to get out. I shut it off so I wouldn't be influenced by other people's works. I wanted my own ideas as much as I could. Now, there's going to be similarities. Sometimes it's just the nature of humanity. We pick up on the same Acacian record, as you call it, or what have you. But I tried to make these as original as possible. So that's them right there. The one in the upper left, Children of the Directive, is basically a prologue for the whole story. The one on the upper right would be the aftermath, but the main story is evolution, revolution, and resolution.
Okay. Now, would you recommend reading the prequel one before reading the rest of them, or do you recommend reading them and then reading the prequel?
It doesn't matter. I started off with evolution, but the thing about the prequel is out of that series there, it's a tie between the Children of the Directive or Echoes of Nora, which one people like the best. They're different. If you want a very strong female character that's done like a female, you want Children of the Directive. You learn the story there is, there's a lot of different characters. It covers... well, basically, think of a breakaway civilization from now at our time. And those people went out into space. They hid the technology from humanity, and they developed into kind of like a fascist society. And eventually they got taken over by wanting to conquer. And they kept sending information back to Earth as they gathered, because in some regard, they did have a little bit of humanity in them where they wanted humans to be the dominant species. They went out and wiping everything out. And eventually they found out, wait, there's a bad out here that's bigger than us and we can't do it. So they try and figure out a way to elicit help from the rest of humanity without them knowing. That's where evolution starts in. But the point is the main character from the beginning is a character named May. It's a name derived from when she was born, what tank she was born from, which one she was in order she was born. So it's, the generation 26 born. So her name ended up to be May. And it takes off in the evolution. The first one I wrote was her son, that he's genetically manipulated, I wouldn't say enhanced, but he is different. She was born different. And it's evolution is more, not so much on them evolving as it is watching humans learn to be human, real human.
Wow, that's really cool. I'm looking forward to it. I'm just looking here at this book, and then the children one, that's the prequel one. If I heard you correctly, maybe I'll just get that. Yes, they are available on Amazon, and you can get them on Kindle as well.
Amazon has the paperback. I don't have them all on Kindle, I don't think. Also, Amazon has the hardcover for The Blood Witch, but all hardcovers are on Barnes & Noble. I don't give them paperback there. Barnes & Noble quality is just hands down better than what Amazon does. You get both books in your hands, and you feel that Barnes & Noble one is just going, this is a different class. So I stuck with the hardcovers for Barnes & Noble.
Okay, fair enough. That's good to know. Hello, Heisman. Thank you. Yeah, there's a lot of historian women out there. Oh, yeah. Well, I'm one of them. But, yeah.
No, what are you looking for when you read, though? I mean, we've heard it a few times, but we're talking about my stuff. But this is your show. What about you? What do you like to read? I mean, not necessarily fantasy or this or that or the other, but there's a lot of stories out there where they're dystopian. A lot of people like that, and a lot of people hate it, and a lot of people get really bored of dystopian. Do you like to read about any particular type of hero, or just community development, or what is it?
That's really hard to say, because I think there's a je ne sais quoi in a lot of this. Like when the Hunger Games first came out, I loved it. Devoured all 3 books, but I wouldn't say that I necessarily like that kind of story. And I read Twilight. What can I say? It was...
I'm sorry.
Well, how's it? I will say, objectively, I know it's bad. On the other hand, it was very subjectively entertaining. And what it was a student saying, "Hey, miss, read this. It's fun." I'm like, okay, because, you kind of want to read what the kids want, and if they show interest. And I was like, turning the page, I was like, I wanted to find out what was going to happen. It was like a beautiful train wreck. But
Okay,
think
then I
that
got a question for you then, because if that's the case, was it bad? Because other people's opinion tell it was bad, or was it bad for you? Because obviously you were entertained. I have this saying is, let me see, if an emotion can be created, elevated, or manipulated in the reader, the author has done well, regardless of the size of the audience. So if you enjoyed it, was it really bad?
good point, because I do say if a movie or TV show keeps you watching to the end, or if you keep turning the pages, then it's good because it gave you entertainment. When I
There
say
you go.
objectively bad, I mean, you can look at the dialogue and see that it's very clunky, it's very cliche. I'm not gonna go around quoting it like the way I might some of the insights that Elizabeth Bennet has from Pride and Prejudice. There's nothing in there that will make you elevated necessarily like the tomorrow, tomorrow, and tomorrow speech from Macbeth.
Right.
But yes, I enjoyed it. So I will always defend Twilight for the
There you go.
entertainment that it is. But I believe I would be silly and perhaps even worthy of ridicule if I were to say that Twilight was the same quality as Pride and Prejudice. And moreover, I think that Stephanie Meyer would say amen. She doesn't even think she is. They know that they're not the greatest.
Well, I
It's
think any form of writing has several different, um, I would say, objectives,
mhm,
and none of them are exclusive. Wow, boy, my brain just went out. None of them are exclusive from each other, and sometimes they can all be put together. But there is the
mhm,
aspect to be entertained, there is the aspect to be educated, and there's the educated could be in something like an encyclopedia or a how-to book or those type of things, or it could be educated, and this is an example of how to use language properly.
mm,
And in the most excellent books, say we go like to Tolkien or some of the other ones, they not only share a story, an in-depth story, but they also teach on the proper way to use language in text. Doesn't
mhm.
mean it's the only way to do it, but it excels. So I don't think any that's why I like bookstores and libraries to be huge, because there's all kinds of things of information that could be shared.
Mhm,
Um, the competition, and you've seen this when it comes, especially with comic books, the competition, the cutthroatness,
mhm.
it doesn't make sense to me. If everyone has a story to tell, everyone's better to hear the story. It shouldn't be where you can exclude other people because of your own hubris or your own desire to be top of the heap.
Mm,
I think the ladder should be there, or multiple ladders should be there for everybody to take a climb and enjoy whatever they will to enjoy. um,
yeah.
Granted, there is the aspect where you got to protect children from some ideals until their brain is developed, not just a childhood thing, but their brain actually has to be developed to where they can understand this information properly, analyze it correctly, and apply it to their life, either good or reject it wholly with a cognition that is adequate for an adult. If you do that to a child, it just messes them up. But other than that, I think, you know what? Uh, Cooking books, history books, old lecture books. I got a whole bookcase behind me that has some of the master lecturers for the past 200 years, all their different stories. I got several of them from Poe, when it wasn't his stories, it was him being up front, telling people this is the importance of writing. I have a thing from Mark Twain where he spoke an hour and a half about the weather. It was the most hilarious thing I've ever read, but it was just about the weather, and it's Mark Twain.
Mhm.
So all of it has value. It just what's appropriate and what's your taste.
Yeah. And the whole age appropriate thing, people don't realize that there is an art. I'm saying this as an artist, but also as a teacher and someone that studies a lot of pedagogy for music. for
Mhm.
young children, people sometimes just think, "Oh, you're just sitting there singing songs with the kids." And I'm like, "No, that's not what we're doing." That each thing that we do, if you are a proper music educator, has a purpose for these little 5-year-old minds, and that what I do with my 5-year-olds is as difficult as what someone at the Met Opera is doing or studying at Juilliard for that
Right.
level of their
Right.
brain. But they're 5, so it sounds simple, but it is actually incredibly complicated for their little minds, and it helps develop them.
Okay. Because you said 45 minutes, but I did want to ask you this question as you brought it up.
Sure.
Uh, Being a musician, you had to have been influenced, and I hopefully you remember what was the first type of music or musician that you fell in love with at the very beginning.
Wow. As far as falling in love, like someone that just really, really
Not the
influenced
artist, the
me.
music.
Oh, the music. Oh, it would be classical.
Okay. I mean, it could
Definitely.
be an artist that presents a certain type of music. Like for me, it was Herb Albert and the Tijuana Brass. My mom
Mm,
would play that, and I remember being 4 years old wanting to listen to it over and over and over again, listening to those brass instruments play. But yours
yeah.
was the classical. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was
That means you're highly
Beethoven.
intelligent.
And believe it or not, it was Bill Conti. He was incredibly influential on me. His score for North and South TV show was
Hmm.
really, really grabbed me. And of course, he did Rocky and he did Karate Kid. So his music was incredibly influential on me. And so was Andrew Lloyd Webber, because he was really at the height of his popularity when I was a little girl. And we would sing his songs in my family because my folks were into it, and we would go see the shows in the West End. So that also, I know I've mentioned about 4 or 5 that I've fallen in love with, but definitely musical theater, classical, whether it is somebody like Beethoven. Beethoven struck me just because he did. I know it's such a cliche to say Beethoven, but sorry, he was the one. And then Bill Conti. He is when you listen to Bill Conti's music, you definitely hear the classical influence in what he's
Right.
doing, that he is trained.
Right.
And it frustrates me sometimes that people don't understand that it doesn't happen by magic. While you might be talented, obviously Bill Conti is a genius, but this man was trained. Okay. We are trained for life. We don't just magically know. Even Mozart had to take music lessons, for crying out
Yep.
loud.
Yep.
Yeah. And yeah, so that's a very long answer for me, but never
No, that's
underestimate the
okay.
power of folk songs. The folk songs that you sing, the songs you sing as children, even playground taunts actually have musical value if you listen
Hmm.
to it. They're using the so me, la patterns, na na
Yep.
na na na, so me la so me, which naturally children gravitate for, and it actually does something to their brain. Little
Yes, it
children
does.
gravitate toward that, and that's why their songs are like that. Rain, rain, go away, come again some other day. Same thing. It's fascinating
Which
once you get into
which
it.
breaks my heart. Some schools where they try and eliminate music, saying it's not educational. I'm thinking that is you're handicapping. For me, um, music is often as important as reading and writing.
Mhm. Oh, it does. Well, there's a reason why if you find just about any valedictorian, they're also the concert master of the
Yes.
orchestra.
Yep.
And I can't tell you how many of my classical students, because I am a master class teacher. I am not teaching contract teaching anymore. Never again. But all of them are going into engineering, science, they're being
Hmm.
doctors. It's
Hmm.
not an accident. It's actually that the brain just gets trained for so much of that. And it also has a use for a lot of these troubled kids. Sometimes a troubled kid just needs to go and sing their little hearts out, or bang on an Orff instrument, bang on a saxophone, ring some bells, hit some cowbells. It's
Hmm.
mental health as well. Yeah. Yeah,
Completely
lullabies
agree.
are that too, yeah, Max. Yes, never underestimate how important it is to sing to your children, and I always tell people, if you're not comfortable, then get a recording then, but either way, singing to children is the most important thing that you can do, in my humble opinion, through the first 10 years of their life. And do it while they still want you to. Because they're going to get too cool for that.
Right.
They're going to get too cool for that.
They start hearing, hey, Dad doesn't quite sing in tune. I thought you were a musician. Yeah, it doesn't mean I could sing.
Yeah. And sometimes I would see this with the elementary students I would teach by the time they got to 4th grade. These are baby songs. And I'm like, no, they're not. But, it's babies. Kindergartners do that. We're too cool, but they don't realize that they're just really children. But we're digressing. Well, this has just been tons of fun. Oh, my gosh. Magic Meg's, I'm going to say her point here because I think this summarizes it. You have to be well-rounded and balanced. If you don't experience, read, watch something that's objectively bad, you don't have a basis on what's bad. Some things that are good. Same thing on anything good. Yeah, I read once that people that detect fraud when it comes to money, but what do they call that? Counterfeit money. Mm-hmm. That what they do is they spend the whole time feeling, touching real counterfeit money. So they figure out automatically right away when something's off.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, I've always loved the sound of the harpsichord thanks to a 45 of Love is Blue. Oh, yeah, it's good. It's good for you. Everyone should do that, and everyone should read. And this is why when you have something like, for example, the Rings of Power or something, and some people are like, what do you mean it's bad? Isn't it the same thing? And it's like, no, it's not.
And Mags and both of you brought this up because there was something that happened. I saw this video a while back, and it expresses a lot of things. This girl was complaining because our generation, Gen X, the greater generation, the boomers, when we speak, except Gen X, sometimes they'll say dude, or man, but for the most part, we don't use language like the new ones do, where it's like, or, there's a whole bunch of interjected words that mean nothing. And she was so frustrated when she was presenting this. And the thing came to my mind, she doesn't read. She just reads text. She doesn't have a deep thought. Well, like with what Madge was saying and what you were saying, you will never know what excellence is if you're only presented with mediocrity. And Script Doctor, he's currently working with some AI things, and some of the stuff that he's talked about, and he talked with me a little bit about, is that the AI is doomed because it keeps reading its own stuff. When it goes out to search for ideas of images or stories, what have you, it starts being presented with other AI presentations or manufactured images or what have you, and each successive generation of product is weaker and less and diminished. And it is important that the excellence be introduced over and over again. Like with Rings of Power being presented, this is inferior because look at the superior. If you don't get to see the contradiction of what is good as opposed to bad, eventually everything will suck.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, gosh. And boy, did you open a can of worms with AI. Because I think that AI is fine as a tool, perhaps. I have been guilty of doing that. I am not a real artist. So if I want to maybe do a thumbnail, I might use AI. I have a real problem, though, when people try to say, because I use AI, I'm just as much an artist as someone that is an artist. And I'm like, no, you're not an artist. You're using AI, and there's nothing wrong with that, but it's not the same.
You're a technician.
Yeah, you're a technician. You're this, and just admit it. Don't try to say that you're the same. Or when people use AI to write music, just because you used AI to write music, even if you use AI to write a piece in the style of Mozart, that doesn't make you Mozart.
Right.
Yeah, right. True AI is coming. Oh, well, it's already here. We're all doomed. Well, before we go on to our Rule 7 portion, is there anything that maybe you would like to say before we go? Anything that you wanted to maybe expound upon that you didn't get an opportunity to?
Oh no, if I wanted to expand upon it, I'd bore the heck out of
No.
you. Nah, but he mentioned true AI is coming. That's one of the more complex of my stories. They'll have multiple plot lines, and one of the subplot line in the evolution series is AI, and I present both sides, good and bad, the extremes of both ends. But it's not the main plot. You'd have to kind of think about it. You go, oh, okay, there it is. Yep. It'll make sense. So I see good and bad in it. It just if we become over reliant upon it, then that's going to be more detrimental than it is good, and it's a downward spiral into mediocrity.
Yeah. And already you see, when I look at something created by AI, a piece of art, and I look at a piece of art that I know somebody, a true artist, has crafted and drawn and painted and all that, it's not even close. You can tell. You can tell the
Yeah.
difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you should
Artificial.
be able to on those books that I showed you, the Children of the Directive. I did that deliberately because that book starts and ends with AI,
Ooh.
or a form of it. So I made an AI image. My artist didn't do that. That's the only one where I did something. She did all the rest.
Oh, cool.
So that's specific for that to help present the story.
No, and that's, in my humble opinion, the way it should be used. But alrighty, well, let's go ahead and go into roll 7. I always say that people, you are more than welcome to participate as well. I roll a D20 7 times with predetermined questions. These were put together, combination of Google searching, trying them out on my mother. My mother and Stieg played around with them. Were my guinea pigs. So these are what we came up with, and I roll. And I always tell people that if you get the same question twice, if you keep getting the same numbers, go buy a lottery ticket. I have had someone get like the same number 5 in a row. It's like, you are lucky today. Go for it. All right, I'm just bringing it up here. There we go. First roll. ADEGA, if you could remove one invention from the world, what would it be and why?
I've heard someone on your show say this before, and I agree. Cell phones. It is, when you remember this, when we were young, when you go out, you had to memorize the phone numbers.
Yeah.
Now you don't do that. When you wanted to gain information, you had to go to an encyclopedia, or you had to go through microfiche, or what have you. You had to do research. Now you don't do that. It has weakened us. I like the convenience of having a phone near you at all times, but everything else that's added to it, the streaming, the repository of information, whether it be from phone numbers to addresses to that, I think it has diminished our capacity to think. So that would be it.
Okay, well, there we go. I agree with you. I cannot imagine raising children in the era of cell phones. I don't know how you keep them safe. How do you keep them safe, let alone all the other problems with it? That was something we learned in school, in kindergarten, where we had to say our mother's parents' phone number.
Yep.
That was like a test.
And you always kept a dime on you for the phone booth.
Yes. Right along with, can you tie your shoes? All of that. Well, if we were playing D&D, you just got screwed because you rolled a 1.
Oh.
But the good news is it's not D&D. If you didn't have to sleep, what would you do with the extra time?
I really don't sleep that much. So it wouldn't be that much of a deal. I mean, I sleep 3 to 4 hours a day. That's about it. Always have been. When I was young, and this says a lot about how destructive I was. I had a bunk bed, and my parents made me sleep on the bottom bunk, and then they took a crib apart and made a little cage, because I would get out in the middle of the night, empty the fridge, string toilet paper up and down the hallways, mark up things, everything. I just got to where they couldn't do anything except lock me in the room. So I've never slept. It's the way it's always been. And what I usually do with the time, quiet time when the world's quiet, is when I write or edit. during the days when I do chores or what have you. So it would be more time to read or write, I guess.
Okay. Even more time to read and write.
Right, right.
Yes, I love it. Oh, hello, Keely Chow. I've been a professional sleeper my whole life, so that wouldn't work for me. I would save a lot of time if I didn't sleep. Let's see. The next question is, what's your favorite lame excuse when you are late?
Lame excuse when I'm late. Oh, gee. Excuses that I used or excuses that I heard? Because the dog ate my homework is a pretty popular one, but I forgot.
Hmm.
I guess. And maybe it's not an excuse either because I do forget an awful lot. My memory has become quite bad as of the past couple of years, but I forgot. That's got to be it.
Okay, well, there you go. Snorta Poopa says, I'd like to nap so I'm rested before going to bed. That is more true than I relate way too much. Oh my gosh.
Wisdom from the bear.
Yeah. Never go wrong with a polar bear. All right. Next, we have, what is the most annoying habit other people have?
Most annoying. Mm, gosh, that's got to be a tie between two. Eating habits.
Mhm.
Anyone who is a noisy eater, oh my word, that drives me nuts. Or, I am the American style of eater. You were probably old enough. I'm sorry, I'm older than you, but I'm just assuming things. Where in school we had social studies, and the social studies is not what it is today. We were taught how to use a knife and a fork properly. If you didn't learn at home, you held it a certain way, the American way.
Mhm.
So it's this stabbing of plates with the fist in the utensil, and then and the noise. Eating habits. That's pretty annoying. And the other thing is people making excuses for bad language, like ginormous, irregardless. Uh, a lot of people. This one really, really bugs me. Is people are saying I'm being hyperbolic. I have a Webster's dictionary here. 15 years ago, hyperbolic still meant what hyperbolic is. It
Yeah.
is a parabola. Blah, blah, blah. It is a parabolic curve, a type of parabolic curve, usually dealt with tracking things in space, but it could be any type of thing. If you're using hyperbole, that is the word to use, not I'm being hyperbolic. No, I'm using hyperbole. Oh, those type of things drive me nuts all the time. And it's it's being popularized by people in the media. If you ever watch people like Gary Roddick, you watch Tim Pool, some of these people, they're always using this hyperbolic, and that's wrong. Like I said, you go to the older dictionaries, and even not that much older, it's not in there. It is an improper use of the word. So yeah, drives me nuts.
Okay. Now I'm getting self-conscious. I'm like, have I used that? Probably
Yes, you
I
have.
have.
Yes, you have.
Oh, wait, you've caught me?
Oh yes, trust me, it bothers me that much.
Oh, wow. I'm trying to think when I've even used that word, but oh, well. You probably know the date and the time.
No, you were with Stig one of those times when Stig was on.
Okay. Well, there we go. So you've heard it here first, everyone. Don't use hyperbolic. You use something is.
I'm using hyperbole. I'm not being hyperbolic. I'm using hyperbole.
I am using hyperbole. Everyone repeat after me. I am using hyperbole. Now we're all better people, and I won't feel so self-conscious. I was feeling quite judged because I was a
Thank
little
you.
sure. Yeah. Genie next. Oh wait, you already had this one, so yeah, get yourself a
Tina's
ticket.
got it right.
Yeah.
Left wings. It's the evolution of language. No, it's the destruction of language.
Yeah. What fictional character do you wish were real?
Hannah Olgonza. It's a favorite one I ever wrote.
Oh.
She is, in my fantasy universes, there are 3 types of mages. And the story is not based on mages because they only show every 200 years. But she is the one that started the curse. And the 3 types of magic is there's a healer, there's a nature magic where they control the elements, and there's a death wind. And these guys are man or woman. They get a euphoria and power by the destruction of others. They are death itself. That's why they're called a death wind. But Hannah was a healer. And there was, in my universe, there was only 3, and only one lasted until their older age because they become cynical and they would lose their ability. They have to be like a Mother Teresa. There are just, out of millions and millions, there's one. And she was it. So yeah, her whole concern before her duty to the kingdom, before anything else, was taking away the pains of others.
Well, there you go. My gosh. Better person than I am. Let's see.
Yeah, well, she's meant to be an ideal. Yeah.
What's the most immature thing you do?
It used to be blowing things up.
Ooh, cool.
Yeah, I make my own bombs and stuff. I think now it's either telling really, really stupid jokes, because I'm very good at it. These are worse than dad jokes. Or playing video games. Because I think it's important to have a relaxation for the brain, but sometimes you get carried away, and I think it becomes immature when I spend more than a few minutes at it. But that's just me.
When you said that, that made me think the whole thing with Matt Walsh. I'm like, oh no, immature.
No, I'm not that bad. No.
Yeah, I know.
It has its place. There are recreations. It's like sports or anything else. It does exercise mind. It for older people, a lot of the reflexes that you could lose. It maintains some of those hand-eye coordination things, reflex speeds. But I think it can become quite childish if it's done for hours on end. And if Loki hears me saying that, he's going to kick me in the butt. But that's okay. I'll take it.
Yeah, we're all grown up. Well, one could argue anything done in excess is a very bad idea.
No, that's true.
Everything needs to be balanced. And last but certainly not least, get a lottery ticket. Wow, get another lottery ticket.
Yay.
Woohoo. Okay, now we got one. What's the most annoying question you've ever been asked?
How you feel? No, seriously. Some of you know that I've been fighting cancer for 14 years.
Oh my gosh.
And it's just, I don't need that question.
Yeah. It's like, hey, dumbass, how do you think I feel?
Well, it's just, I get tired of answering it, and I don't want any false sympathy. I don't want any real sympathy. I just want to be me without having a label of someone who's disabled because of a disease.
Yeah, understood. Kind of related to that, for me, it's the, are you okay? It's like, obviously not, especially, you're sitting there bawling your eyes out. Hey, are you okay? It's like, no, I'm fabulous, obviously.
What's wrong?
Yeah.
It was Lady Gravemaster had that on Twitter. It was a repeat of somebody else's name in less than 4 words, some way to make a woman mad. Are you all right?
Oh, okay. Or the other thing to make a woman mad is you're overreacting.
Right.
Yeah, that's not a
You
good
need to
one.
calm down.
Yeah. Yeah. My favorite, what is it? The Babylon Bee does a lot of things like that. Sometimes that really crack me up. And one of them was a picture of a man in distress. And it's like, man made mistake of actually trying to solve his wife's problems.
Right.
Yeah. It's like, no, we just want to complain. Snort a poop with Kuber. I get tired of being asked if I'm going to eat.
The answer for him is always yes.
Yes.
A
Or
polar bear is always hungry.
yes, for other people, it's when are you going to get married?
Oh, geez.
Yeah. Or even better, why aren't you married? It's like none of your damn business. Yeah.
I married quite young, so I'm good.
Yeah.
Been
So
married
so you didn't
for
have that annoyance.
34 years. Yeah.
Oh
I
yeah,
was
you.
22.
Yeah. That's an annoying one too. It's like, don't you think if I was planning to get married, I would go ahead and do that? Or the one that's really cruel is when people ask married people, well, when are you going to have a baby? Because often I had a friend that this happened to. And she just got done losing a baby. And it's like,
Oh, yeah.
it makes it even worse. It's like,
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
you're running out of time, and they're sitting there mourning a lost baby. What premature, I don't it's that's why I'm like, mind your own business, people. You don't know. You just don't
Right.
know. Oh, that
Right.
took seriously. Okay, Jacob, make us laugh. How about this one? It's good to see you out. Like people in wheelchairs don't get out. Oh, I bet you. Yeah, isn't that condescending? That's really condescending. Yeah. So apparently, since you're in a wheelchair, you're just sitting around staring at the wall all day. Janie Mac. Magitech Mags. Oh, the why aren't you married question is both annoying and cruel. Yeah. For several reasons. First of all, none of your business. Second of all, you don't know
True.
someone's life.
True.
Yeah. I had a friend, for example, who her fiance was killed in a motorcycle accident. And so when it's like, why aren't you married? And well, she would get revenge by saying, because my fiance was killed in a motorcycle accident.
Right.
And they would feel bad for it. And it's like, yeah, jerk. You don't know.
And there are those people that when their heart is given to someone, it doesn't go anywhere else. And if she lost them, she may never want to open that up ever again.
Yeah. Or it takes years to be ready.
That too. Yeah. Yeah.
Or imagine this. Maybe in my case, I haven't met someone I feel like I should be married to. It's kind of very simple, and it's probably far better not to marry someone. How do I put this? It's, in my humble opinion, better to remain single than to marry someone you don't want to marry, because that is a divorce around the corner.
Right.
For lack of
Or
a better
unhappiness.
or unhappiness, or you stay into it for the sake of things, and then you're miserable. It's like there's been a thing in this trad movement lately that I think is all fake. The more I hear about it, that like where they're blaming women. It's like, well, it's your fault because you didn't get married when you were 20, and like that women that are lonely, that so-called conservatives are mocking them, and I'm like, this isn't right, people. And I still think that there is an agenda that these people are doing. They don't believe it. They're just doing rage bait, just trying to get engagement and getting people to watch their YouTube channels. But I'm like, that's not good.
Right.
There's several reasons why people are single.
Right. Another reason why cell phones are not good. You see stuff like that all the time. People trying to get clout off of other people's sympathies.
Darn right. Sort of poopus. My answer to the question about getting married would probably be, when are you ready to get that overdue lobotomy? Nice. Or I don't know anyone insane enough to marry me. Yeah. A good one that I have heard, I've never quite had the nerve to do it. Someone said, when are you getting divorced? Ask them when they're getting divorced. It's because that's just as nosy and impertinent and none of their damn business. Yeah, the mockery, says Magitech Max, is extremely depressing. Yeah, I think we're sisters on the same page, aren't we? You don't know what someone has gone through and why they aren't married yet. Exactly. Precisely. And
just because you're surrounded by buttheads doesn't mean you have to pick one.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a very good one too. But yeah, I've been seeing this a lot lately. That I don't want to say her name, but you probably know who I'm talking about, who does this a lot. And she's just raking in the money and laughing all the way to the bank. I just keep telling people, don't give her attention. She's just saying these things. And yeah, it's not fair. And I get really cranky when people in our circle think an insult is, oh, look at you, childish lady with nothing but your cats. And I'm thinking, first of all, why is that a bad thing? And second of all, do you realize that there's many women in this community that you just really insulted for no reason? Like, it's not a sin, it's not a crime. And what if I had a dog? Would that make it better?
Right.
Yeah, it's disgusting. But we're getting way too serious here. But I'm just starting to do preaching it here. I'm preaching it because you know what I mean. It's really annoying. The question was, what's the most annoying thing that people do? Yeah, basically it boils down to mind your own damn business.
Well, yeah.
But
Because the people who are genuinely concerned will know how to do it with tact and appropriateness. And sometimes it's not appropriate to ask at all.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the people who are truly compassionate.
Mm-hmm. Darn right. Hell, Magitech says, after what I've gone through in my life, my cat is quite awesome. Yeah, exactly. Though they're all sociopaths. Well, but you know who is not a sociopath? It is ADEGA. So, ADEGA, tell us where we can find you or anything else you want to plug before we leave.
No, if you're tired of reading crap, my stuff is good. It really is. I've gotten away from the imposter syndrome that I had for years. I had enough people. You can go on my channel and you can listen to the testimonials. Even Joe Malozzi, you know him?
I'm not familiar.
He was the guy he's done more sci-fi television than anybody on the planet. Stargate, Stargate Atlantis, Stargate Universe, Dark Matter, Utopia Falls. He's read it and he says it's brilliant. So if he says it, and he only tells the truth, he doesn't pull punches with anybody, then I know it's good. The other thing is, and it just worked out this way, I don't know how it did, but I was also asked to speak with another gentleman this evening, or another channel with a gentleman this evening. Zod Writer, he is very much a Snyder fan, but I hang out with everybody. I like some of Snyder stuff. I don't like some of his stuff. I get along with just about everybody in the community. I don't care where you are. There's a few that I don't. So some people like him, some people don't. Either way, I'm going to be hanging out with him tonight on his channel, and he wants to pick my brain about things. So it's going to be fun. And every Sunday, and I mentioned this before we started, my YouTube channel is not necessarily for numbers. If you sign up, great, wonderful. If you don't, that's fine too. But you get to hear the current work that I'm editing on. So the whole book will eventually be there. I had all of my works were on it at one point, and they've all been removed except for the most latest ones that I'm working on. So every Sunday, a new chapter gets released, and then I can hear it, see how it sounds rhythmically, a few other things. I go back and I edit it, but you get to hear it before it gets edited. So that's, you can come to 5:30 Central every Sunday if you wanted to hear that. But other than that, if I'm feeling good or Loki has power on, we have a show on Loki's Mornings of Mischief on Thursday nights. That's when we get into the darker side of things. I talk about the conspiracy theories that have all been proven true for the most part. Sometimes scripted, sometimes other type of things. And he will talk, usually read stories from people's darker writings, spooky stuff. So, but that's usually what I do. And then, periodically someone says, hey, you want to hop on and join us? I've been with some big guys. It's not important to me. The important thing is that people walk away with a good feeling, a little more intelligent, and no one's insulted. So that's me.
Oh, well, there we go. Yeah. Well, what became the meme, what we used to call conspiracy theories, we now call spoilers.
Right.
All right. Thank you for sharing the YouTube channel. Yes, and subscribe to everyone and share the love, everything. Thank you so much, ADEGA, for coming on and sharing with us.
It's fun.
I really enjoyed it. Yeah, it was a good time, and I learned so much from you. This has been really, really amazing. So thank you, Magitech Mex, Snorta Poopa Scooper, Jacob Ironside, Bad Take Bojan, Keely Chow, Heisman, see if I hope I got everyone. I know that there were some people coming in and out. If I miss anyone, it is not intentional. Salty Traveling Sea, Purple Valkyrie, Biggles Mets. Sometimes the chat moves up. And you can find me here in Miss Smart Muses, where I talk about what makes me laugh, makes me cry, makes me happy, makes me sad, or just really ticks me off. Yesterday I did one that ticked me off about what they're doing to Lady Jane Grey. So if you are interested in hearing a little bit about the real Lady Jane, go ahead and have a look at that. Oh, you know what I'm talking about, don't you?
I've heard rumors. I haven't done my homework on it yet. This is something I don't know, but I know it pissed off the right people. And if it made you upset, made Lady Gravemaster upset, a few other people, I need to go listen to what you guys have to say about it and then do my research, because I don't want the wool being pulled over my eyes because of my ignorance.
No. Well, you can tell just by looking at it that it's a farce, but it's about real people. And we go into all the different reasons why it's a problem. And someone told me to grow up because, well, it's just fiction. It's not real and all of this. And I just completely ignored someone's. Whenever people do that stuff to me, I was like, this person's not worth my time, because these are real people. And if you want to make a farce, but I digress. Watch the video. I didn't see Lady Gravemaster, but I'm sure she was mad too. So please, I do some historical background, and not just on Lady Jane Grey, but also on Queen Mary I and Edward VII and all of the people that they are turning into fools. So that really ticked me off. I'm going to be having more Fire and Blood inspired videos. I'm going to be doing Jace Goes to the North in Winterfell and trying to put together how everyone's actually related to each other in House of the Dragon, and it is more complicated than I am my own grandpa. It's fun, and I'll be on Sporkings tonight. I'm planning to do that to also talk more Song of Ice and Fire /
all right,
Fire and Blood, etc. So thank you, everyone. Everyone's saying goodbye. Thank you. Hello. Yay. Yes, Amazon has definitely done it again. Have a great day, everyone. Have a great day. And be certain to look up ADEGA's books, buy them, and read them.